see. There we go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Big Day Dave, and this is Farm Sim Talk, a show where we get to interview other creators within the Farm Sim community. And today I am really happy to be joined by MidwestAg. Midwest, how are you doing today?
Doing good, and I hope everyone else out there is doing, well, pretty good as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we get going with this interview, do you want to tell us where we can all find you?
You can find me on multiple places. I got TikTok, which I've been slowly getting back into working on. So I got my TikTok, which is at MidwestAg or at MidwestAg_YT for YouTube, you know, because I mean, YouTube's my main deal. YouTube as MidwestAg. I've been working with that for just over a year. And you can find me on Facebook. I did change my Facebook name. It's not MidwestAg. I go by for my modding name for Farm Hub. And it's also the same thing for a bunch of other stuff that I do as well. So you can find me a lot of places. Except Instagram. I do not have Instagram.
Excellent, excellent. Do you want to give any shout outs before we get going?
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to pretty much all the guys I work with. Great dudes. Been helping me, motivating me to keep going with all this stuff. So we got Cole Farms, AF Farms, good friends. So we got Star, Spangled Mods, DTAP Gaming, Weston Farms, Poppins J48, and then I guess before I guess you do an interview with him, we got Fearsome Rhino too. You know, he's been a great help with me, giving me good ideas and stuff, helping me out with a lot of the stuff I've been doing in the community so far, and give me like the connections I need to continue with the community.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, we have a interview set up with him next week, actually.
Yeah, I've seen that. I messaged him about that. I was like, hey, look who did it.
Yes, and I also see AF Farms. I also see Cole Farms, both in the chat. Also, I see Jody and Pippa. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day so far. So let's go ahead and get started with the interview. We're going to start with our first segment here. It's called Digging Up Dirt. This is the segment where we get to know you more for who you are and less for your modding and YouTubing career so far. So first things first, do you have a job outside of the whole content creation modding sphere within Farm Sim, or is this your primary job?
I do have a job outside of making content and doing modding. Yes, I do.
Excellent, excellent. And tell us, what are some of your hobbies? Do you like to hike, fish, any kind of sports, anything like that?
Pretty big into fishing and hunting. Current situation, I haven't been able to go hunting and fishing for quite a while with a lot of stuff going on, but most definitely my favorite thing is kind of being outside, living it up in nature, going outside, doing some hunting, fishing. Something about the, I guess the quiet, the peace that it has. It's, really soothing and it's really nice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What kind of hunting do you tend to do when you get to do it?
So I like to go turkey hunting, deer hunting. I haven't done anything else other than that. I was going to try to do like an elk hunt like about 4 or 5 years ago. Never got around to that. The job at the time, kind of the schedules weren't really, well, basically I just they wouldn't let me have the time off to go on an elk hunt. So I was kind of upset about that, but mostly just going hunting for deer, turkey, all the stuff that can be found back in Nebraska pretty much. I know they got like antelope out there in western Nebraska. I know if I ever got the chance to, I'd probably do some pheasant hunting, but I never could find a group of people that had a bird dog that would go pheasant hunting.
That's kind of the important part.
Yeah, so, you can't really go hunting without one of those.
That's kind of key. So, what kind of fishing do you like to do? You prefer freshwater? Do you prefer saltwater?
I've only gone saltwater fishing once. Mostly other than that, it's going down to boat docks or going down to like the lake or something. I have gone on a boat a couple of times and got that luxury of being able to fish from a boat. But mostly just going freshwater fishing, going for bass, walleye, crappie, I guess bluegill, depending on if I go ice fishing or not.
Oh, some walleye sounds so good right now. I haven't had walleye in years.
It is tasty.
It is delicious. And you hail from Nebraska? Is that what you were saying?
Yep, I'm originally from Nebraska.
Gotcha. And what kind of books, movies, and music are you into?
Not really much of a book reader. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like people that describe books and stuff like that. I got a couple friends that like tell me, "Oh yeah, I read this book and it inspired me to do this or this," and I'm like, nerd. But anyway, that's just me. I don't really read books. I've never really gotten into reading books. I was just the same thing in high school. Like I would sit there, I could read a couple lines out of a book, and I guess maybe it's just my imagination wouldn't run wild with a book, but my imagination can run wild with like a whole bunch of other stuff. So not really a book reader. Movies, I like, if I'm, I guess, older movies, I guess we'll go for, like I love old Western movies. They're okay. I like horror films. They're pretty cool. And yeah. And for music, oh man. Yeah, my playlist on my Apple Music is kind of, it's all over the place. You got, I guess, hip hop, country. There's rock and roll in there. There's even there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on in my playlist. So pretty much just a little bit of everything I like to listen to for music.
Excellent, excellent. And what would you say your favorite horror movie would be?
I think the Conjuring series is probably by far my favorite one to the day. Second best would probably be like Sinister.
Yeah, yeah, both of those are amazing. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Is there a particular one of the Conjuring series that you like more than the others, or?
The first one, realistically, I think just to start it all with, like every good series always is like you have the first movie slash video or whatever it is that's in a series. The first one is always the best, and then like the second ones have that high expectation to live up to, and I feel like sometimes they overdo it in some of them. But I mean, the rest of them in the Conjuring series are still pretty good. But the first one, just the Conjuring, is the one that really kind of is the best one in my eyes, I guess.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That definitely really hooked you. That movie got you really kind of like on the edge of your seat the whole time, and it was, yeah, very very good movie. I agree with you 100% there. There's actually a funny story. I think is it the second one with the baby?
Yes, yep.
So for the longest time, my wife, she was trying to get into the horror movies because I'm a big horror movie buff, and that was the one movie where I said, nope, under no circumstances are you going to be able to watch this. This is going to be very bad. And there's one scene in particular, towards the very end, and I'm sure you know which one I'm talking about, where she has the baby and she sees it possessed.
Oh, yeah, yep,
And then she kind of throws it.
yep.
Yeah, yeah. Needless to say, it's like, nope, you're not going to be able to handle this. Just let's move on from that one. But
Yeah,
no.
I know there's plenty of people out there that just like they kind of look at the horror movies spectrum, I guess, and they're like, "How can you watch this? Like, this is terrible." I mean, I don't know. I don't dig too deep into the whole horror movie. Like, I enjoy the suspense that comes from it, but that's pretty much all it is for me. It's like the constant suspense that's in a horror movie, and then you have like absolutely terrible horror movies that all I do is just do jump scares and stuff, and they're really expected. Like I think I've seen so many horror movies, the really terrible ones just they really stand out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you said rock and country were your big ones for music?
Yeah, rock, country. It was pretty much my biggest music that I listened to.
Do you have any particular bands that stand out as your favorite?
We'll start with country, I guess, because that one's gonna be the easiest. Because I have like maybe 7 main people I will listen to with country music. I don't know. Country music, I guess, there's the people that a lot of people know, and then there's people that I listen to that maybe people don't know. But we got like Cody Jinks, Co Wetzel, Cody, what was his name? Kojo or Cody Johnson or whatever his name is. Let's see, Zach Bryan. Everyone should know him probably.
Mm-hmm.
All those guys. There's a couple twosies in there that I can't really say their name off the top of my head. If I looked at my playlist, I could probably definitely get that information. But and then for rock, I like to keep it like old school, I guess. So I mean, everyone loves Creed. Everyone loves Creed. Korn sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling for the day. And then I guess like 3 Days Grace. They're pretty darn good. I like to listen to some Metallica, all that fun stuff.
Nice. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. So, seeing that you're a horror movie buff, then this next question should be relatively easy to answer, which oftentimes is not the easiest for a lot of others to answer. What would you say is one of the oddest, weirdest movies that you've seen in your lifetime?
Let me Actually, that would be an easy one, but I feel like I actually got to think about that one. I don't know. I think like when I first seen it, it was like off-putting, I guess. It was Smile. That one was kind of like I didn't expect it to be the way it was. And then at towards the end, you're just like, what the heck? Because you have no idea, I guess, because it's like all like false reality, I guess is a perfect way to put it. Because she's like has this possession thing that's kind of altering her mind, but you're like living the movie through her head, and then all of a sudden it like plays back, and she's still in the same spot that she just like spent the last 30 minutes escaping from. I'm like, what the heck?
Huh. Is
That one was definitely probably one of the oddest ones.
is that the one where the woman has like the really big over exaggerated grin on the cover?
Yes, that one. Yep, that is that
Okay.
one.
Okay, yeah, I know of the movie, I just haven't seen it. So let's see. What would you do if, for some reason, whatever reason it was, content creation or modding was no longer an option for you? Let's say your computer blew up
Um,
and you had no means to be able to replace it.
I would just go back to just farming and ranching and doing what I used to do before I ever got into doing any of the stuff and what I do now, and I would just continue to, I guess, more or less do the same thing I always used to do. Pretty much, I never used to be on YouTube. YouTube was kind of just one of those flings that I just did, and it just took off, and I was like, well, here I am. Same thing with modding. I just started modding. I got a lot of interest in it, but I mean, if it was all to come to a stop, I mean, I don't think it'd be real difficult for me to just kind of undo what I've already done. Send out a message, be like, "Yeah, guys, computer blew up. Sorry, we won't be seeing you ever again."
So if you mentioned that you did ranching in was that in real life or?
Yeah, yes, I've worked on a ranch before. Farmed for a number of years. When it comes to like saying things in the game for videos and everything like that, like I'll say, yield per acre, or bushels per acre for my yield. I also go through and do like seed rates or like seed depth or like how much chemical I should be putting on and stuff. Like I'll say like, oh, it's going to cost me like, I don't know, $50 an acre to do this, that, and whatever it is. Like if I'm trying to have somebody do some work for me in like a series. And then there's like, I forget who it was, but somebody was asking me like where I got there, where I knew this information, or like if I was just coming up with numbers off the top of my head. And I was like, no, that's real numbers. And then I dig into the whole, yeah, I did this stuff before. It's more than just a game. Like I did this stuff in real life. So it's just kind of like the prior history to it.
So do you think that's kind of where the affinity for farm sim came from? Is that you've done this in real life?
I mean, I mean, yes and no. I don't know. I used to play Farm Sim on my Xbox. I had FS19 way back in the good old days, But it was so stupid because me and my friends would get off work and we'd get on Farming Simulator after we got done farming all day, just to go on Farming Simulator and farm.
So one kind of common theme that I hear throughout these interview series, and it's my own personal experience as well, is that after a long hard day at work and whatnot, one of the last things that a lot of people want to do is get onto a game that's ultra competitive, where you're kind of getting all high strung, and it's like, oh, I got to get to this level, or I've got to defeat this other team, or whatever the case may be. And it's kind of the attraction to the Farming Simulator franchise is it's more of a, okay, well, I just need to go from point A to point B to point C, like just follow the procedures. Would you say that that's something that kind of draws you to it, or?
Yeah, I hate rage baiting games. I don't like. I played Fortnite a couple times, and I can't do it. There's people that are just way better at it than I am, and mainly because I don't play it, so that's just how it is. And I get ultra highly competitive when it comes down to it, and when when I lose, it's a little upsetting. So then I'm just like, screw this. I'm gonna go play something else.
No, I hear you there. I'm the same exact way. Like I said, it's one of those where I deal with enough stresses throughout the day that it's one of those that when I get to turn on Farming Simulator, the first time I turned it on, I was able to just kind of Ooh, like, okay, I can actually sit back and relax and not be stressed out from the day and stressed out from not getting where I wanted to get in the game.
Yeah, there are some stressors in farm sim, like believe it or not. There's like other than like when the game crashes, but when you're doing something and then all of a sudden like you flip or something happens or something falls through the map, that definitely kind of gets the stress going.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that Farm Sim kind of introduced some new elements here recently with the weather effects and stuff like that, that kind of introduces those new layers of stress that we weren't previously used to. That was one thing that I certainly welcome, but I know a lot of other people were like, I don't know, like this is getting to be like a bit much. What was your opinion on the weather effects and stuff?
Like the tornadoes and like hail and like I guess crop damage and stuff like that.
Correct.
I mean, it's a cool function into the game. Like it brings it, I guess, more to life in a way or in a sense. Because I mean, realistically, like before, like you had rain and it just really didn't do much. It was just falling out of the sky, and there's like no effect on the ground or vehicles or anything like that. And then they added into when it rains, like your vehicles get wet, or like when you're washing your vehicle, it shows like the water residue on it. So I mean, the weather effects in my eyes is pretty cool. I feel like they could have done something a little bit more with the mud, but that's just me personally because I feel like when it rains and you go out and you can still drive in your field completely fine. I mean, that's not as realistic as it could be, but then sometimes you got to think, hey, it's just a game. Now like tornadoes and stuff like that. Actually, not too long ago, I actually witnessed my first tornado in Farm Sim. As many hours as I have played this game, I've only just witnessed my first tornado in the game, and it was kind of cool. Like to be able to see what it does, kind of track it down. There was a couple issues with it where like I didn't see it or it didn't show up on my little mini map, but one of the guys that I was in the game with or on the server with was like, "Oh yeah, it's over here in this field." I'm like, "How do you know this?" You know? And we went down there, and sure enough, there was a tornado ripping through somebody's field and throwing trees all over the place. I mean, I thought the tornado was a really cool aspect. I wish it would like have more of a environmental effect, more than just like doing crop damage and breaking trees up. Like I wish it would like flip vehicles over. I wish there was actually like wind to it, and like if you drove through it, it'd throw your vehicle like halfway across the map or something like that.
That would definitely be an awesome addition to the game. I would see that being probably a bit heavy on the lift from giants themselves, but it would be a really cool feature. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure
maybe
there's
next
somebody that could
iteration.
probably script it in there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So it sounds like you kind of more or less fell into the whole content creation sphere. Is that accurate?
Yes, yep, it was completely an off the whim thing.
So what made you decide to finally like dive into it? Just decided why not?
Well, I was bored one day, and I would watch farm sim creators before. I'd watch a couple of them here or there, and I'm like, yeah, these guys like they're not doing it right, you know. And one day I was got tired of playing on console, and I said, screw this, I'm getting a laptop, and I got a laptop, played it for a little while, and I was like geeking out over like all the cool mods that you get while you're on PC. Because no offense to anybody on console, but you definitely don't get all the good stuff on console. I would highly I would highly suggest if you guys save up your funds or save up for your summer job or something like that, if you want to do something to get like better aspect of the game, definitely PC is the way to go. But it was just for me off the whim thing. I got a laptop about a year and a half ago or whatever it was. Can't actually. I think it was like November of 2024. No, 23. November of 2023. I got a laptop. And then I bought a mic. Well, actually, I didn't have a mic. I had a headset, a very crappy headset. And I downloaded OBS, and I was like, well, here we go. This is what I'm going to try now. And I, sure enough, recorded a video. And, in the beginning of it, you have no idea, like, you feel uncomfortable because you're talking to yourself, and you feel like you're going insane. And it just went from there, pretty much. I made that video. Friends at the time were like the only people that were motivating me to keep doing more videos. Because I mean, like when you're first starting out on YouTube, you're not going to get the views you usually see. You get like crap. Well, you get crap views, but then you understand that, well, it was a crappy video. You look back at it. Like I look back at my first videos just to kind of be like, damn, I've grown, because your first videos are not it. You post a video back in the day and you're like, I'm going to get 50,000 views on this. This is the greatest video since like sliced bread, you know? And then you look back at it a couple years down the road and you're like, wow, I sucked.
It's amazing how your perspective really shifts when you're kind of looking through it without the rose-colored glasses of, hey, this is something new. I know I went through the same exact thing when I first started making content and whatnot. It was one of those, oh, this is fun, this is awesome. I think I'm doing really good at this. And then exactly like you said, I look back at it to this day. You can still go through my channel and find the original stuff. And wow, it's bad, so bad. But we all start somewhere. So
Yeah.
what would you say that is something that you're not very good at, but others would disagree with you?
Modding.
Okay.
I've sat there for hours on end, like struggling with doing some modding, trying to figure some stuff out with like whether or not like something looks good, if it fits up to my standard. When it, like, in my eyes, anything can be better. And I hate to like say this about anything because it's like it's a Debbie Downer, I guess. Like everything could be better realistically. Like there's always room for improvement, but I mean, as long as somebody's self-aware that they know there's always room for improvement, that means that you can always just get better. But for me, it'd be with mods I work on. Like first mod that I guess I should not say the first mod I did, but the first mod I completely did, bought the model, worked it through, ran it through Blender, did a whole bunch of work on it, and then added some stuff to it, and then threw it out there on itch. And everyone's like, oh, so proud of this mod that I did. And I look back at it now compared to like some of the work I've done recently and some of the work that I've been working on. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna completely redo this eventually, because that 5088, that international I did, I was just proud of it because it was my first thing I ever done and released it out. And I mean, the community likes it. I've seen a lot of good screenshots with it. I've seen it in a lot of people's videos, and I'm proud of it. There's just aspects to it where I could have done a little bit more work to it, but again, at the time, like I didn't know exactly what I was doing to begin with. I just kind of was just proud of the fact that I got it in game, and I was like, holy crap, I'm him.
Well, it's also really cool because you get to look at something in the game and it's like, I did that. Like more than just like the work that you actually do inside the game itself. It's like, hey, this tractor, I built this. Hey, this thing, I did this. And I would think that would be a really kind of a cool feeling. So
yeah, it's rewarding. It gives you kind of like, I don't know, like you get a little excited about it, and then you get dug so deep into it, and then you start doing more on it, and then people are like, oh, you know, and then you try to work on one that's going to console, and then you got to go look at all the standards for what Giants has to have for it to go to console. You know, you got to have certain sizes for a mod and stuff like that. I've been working on one that I want to release to console. There's a part of me that doesn't think it's exactly good enough to go just yet. Like I've been working on it for like the last 2.5 months. Finally, I've gotten a few things figured out on it where, you know, I think it's got the more realistic aspect to it. It kind of brings it to life. It's got a couple features on it that I think, well, the original one of it that Pleasant View Farm did back in, I think, 22 or early 22 might have been. Like that, it didn't have then. Since then, I mean, I completely reworked a bunch of stuff on there, and I think it's coming along pretty well. It's just I've been putting a lot of hours and time into it.
May I inquire as to what the mod is?
It is a N series gleaner, is what it is.
Oh, okay.
Combine.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that'd be a welcome addition.
Yeah, I've been talking with a couple people trying to like figure out what it is, like getting input like from like bug reports and everything like that. I've gotten good feedback. I've gotten bad feedback. I've gotten like, oh, this texture didn't load in. I'm like, well, it loads in for me. And then I go in and look at it, and then I have it in the wrong file, or I open the wrong gleaner file. Like I open my backup and I do edit work and throw a texture in from my backup onto my main, and then it doesn't load in because the texture's not in the main, you know, and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, well, here we go. And then going through and I actually modeled stuff like for interior wise onto it, and it's just been a learning process. Definitely, it's compared to my international tractor I did, I'd say it's 110% of improvement compared to what I did for that.
Well, and just that kind of natural progression over time, you're going to start building new skills and get more experience to where it kind of time locks your original stuff. And unless you go and readdress that original stuff with the new skills that you learn, it's always going to be there in time. So it's one of those that I experience that for my day job. I work with reports and stuff like that. So so as I'm sitting there coding today, it's not going to be as good as when I code tomorrow, and so on and so forth. So I'm always going to learn new techniques.
Yeah. That's another
So
thing is I never knew how to do like XMLs or anything. I'd look like if I go back 2, 3 years ago and I look at an XML and I have no idea what it's saying, but now I can look at it and be like, yep, this is what this does. And I'd help people out, and I'm trying to bear with them while they're trying to figure it out. But definitely like I've learned quite a bit, and it just comes from trial and error realistically for me. Like I learned through mistakes pretty much. Like if I mess up on something, and I've figured out eventually.
yeah, and I'm right there with you. All the work I do nowadays has just been self-taught. So it's one of those that I completely understand. The journey that you're taking with mods is the exact same journey I took when it came to learning, programming, learning SQL and all that kind of stuff. So I understand completely what you're talking about. So we established that you have a job outside of being a content creator modder. May I ask what kind of family dynamic do you have, and how do you create that perfect home and work and creator life balance?
Um, well, actually, I've been away from my family for 4 years. I haven't lived at home since I don't even know how long ago it's been, but I've not been home for years. I went on vacation back to home, which is going to kind of sound weird, but went on vacation for about a month, about a year ago. Just go back home, see everybody, and say hi, and see how everyone was doing. And then I, went back to being where I am. But I mean, I keep in contact with them, message them on the weekend whenever I got time, because like the time difference between like myself and you, like it's 10:58 in the morning, where it's 9:58 at night for you. So the time difference is definitely kind of a big kick. But I keep in contact with everybody the best I can anyway. Sometimes I get a little sidetracked and I kind of forget, but I always try to reach out to them eventually. Hit up all my friends back home, see how they're doing, see how their lives going, and always make sure to like call them every once in a while and fill them in on what's going on with me, or ask them how they're doing.
So being so far away from everybody, it really creates a strain with it when it comes to that kind of creator life and work and home balance. I would imagine because you're not only having to deal with the distance, but you're also having to deal with the time constraints as well. Being you said it was what 13 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would imagine that would be very difficult to find that balance.
Yeah, if I want to reach out to anybody, so like for the guys I record with in YouTube, generally for all the guys that are in the States, I record with them only on the weekend, because it's the only time where I wake up early enough and have time in my morning to be able to get a video out with those guys. Sometimes I either stay up late at night, like there's been times where it's been like 11, 12 o'clock my time, or 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm recording a video just to make a video because it's early in the morning for them, so the time kind of balances out a little bit. But I've definitely had late hours or late days. I've had really early days, and then trying to find that balance to be able to like find the time to call my friends, family, and all that stuff. It sometimes gets a little hectic. Some people don't understand it. Like I try to play as cool as possible. Like it's just life.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, this next question kind of seems potentially self-explanatory, but I'm going to ask anyways. Do you like to travel?
I mean, after I get back from over here, I'm definitely not. I'm probably not going to travel that much for a while. Anyway, I'd love to. There's places I want to go, just to go because I've always wanted to and never had the chance to. Just to be able to get it out of my system, and then eventually probably not travel as much after that. But definitely, there's places I want to go to. Like I want to go to Europe at some point, see what the big old fuss is about over there. Kind of go see places back in the States that kind of I've never been to before. Because I mean, I've driven through a lot of states. I've like been a lot of places in the States, but I never really like took the time to go adventure around and see what was down there to offer. So I mean, traveling, I don't mind it. It's not bad. I just don't like the whole transportation. It's either you drive or you fly, and something about riding in a car for 20 odd hours just it's not the move. But I mean, it's either that or you sit in a plane for 20 hours. It is what it is.
So if money wasn't an issue, let's say you had all the money in the world and you wanted to set up your dream vacation, where would it be?
Oh man, that would be. There's a lot of places I would like to go as like a dream vacation. Like I've always wanted to go to Australia and go like scuba diving. I've always wanted to go down there and like do like not like a safari. Well, basically like a safari tour out in the outback. Pretty much just ride around and see what's out there. You know, I know that it's like an array of nothingness, or I guess open land. I wouldn't say nothingness because who knows if there's somebody in here that's Australian. Let's listen up, but I guess it's just open land pretty much. But I think it'd be kind of cool to go out there and see what's going on. And then also like I really want to go to Europe, to go to like I think Sweden or somewhere around there, just to kind of see what the culture around there is. I don't know, somewhere in Europe anyway. I know everything around there is pretty much within a drive of itself.
I gotcha. And what would you say inspires or motivates you?
Just constant support from everybody. Like I hear it from a lot of people. There's some times where I get a little bit like not stressed about it. I just kind of get annoyed with a lot of stuff that's going on due to like time differences and stuff like that, trying to work with all these people. It's just constant motivation, being able to see everyone's comments on videos, hear back feedback from everybody, and, you know, talk with all the people I've met in the community, being able to hear from them, and they're just like astounded by everything pretty much.
Okay. And what's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Well, when I tell them I don't live in the U.S. right now, they're like, "What? You sound like you're an American." Yeah, I am. Don't worry, I'm an American.
Yep, definitely, definitely from there. Let's see. What would you say is one of your biggest fears that keeps you up at night?
Let's see. I don't know. Sometimes, like I wouldn't say keeps me up at night, but I've definitely had a couple bad dreams where I was like dreaming I was home, and then I wake up and I'm back over here. Heck, I had a dream that it felt so realistic. I lived like half my life and I was back home again. It was like I never came over here. And then, and I wake up and I'm like, ah, crap. And then I can't go to sleep for a while.
Those kind of dreams are really wild because they're just so immersive. You feel like it is real, and then you wake up and you have to take that like 5-10 minutes of like coming to terms with what it is that you just experienced. Those are just absolutely wild.
Yeah, it's like a little snapback to reality. It's kind of fun though.
Mm-hmm. Do you own any pets?
I used to have a dog. I used to have a red heeler. And then I used to have a couple farm cats, or like outside cats, basically just hunt mice and do stuff like that, run around the shop and basically keep the mice away. I would also say that the bottle calves I had about 6 years ago, they were pretty much pets. Because I mean, you know, cows are cows, but I mean, when you have bottle fed calves and they grow up to be yearling heifers, they're pretty much just like gigantic dogs. They'll follow you around, and eventually, you know, you'll have to come to terms with the fact that, or they'll have to come to terms with themselves that they're not a little 140 pound calf no more, or not calf, but like they're not 140 pounds no more. So when they bump into you, it's not that big of a deal. But when they get to be about 500-600 pounds and then they run into you, that kind of gets a little on the outside there.
So what were some of the stuff that you did when you were working on the farm?
Normal farm work. I was really good with the electrical side, so I worked on pivots all the time. Worked on mechanical functions, basically mechanic pretty much for the farm, and then also did like electrical work as well. So we were like my boss at the time was like kind of a dual function guy, so he did electrical or like wiring houses and stuff during the off season during the winter when we weren't doing anything out at the farm. So then I would be out there helping out doing that stuff, and then during planting, spraying, and harvest seasons when we were all out at the farm doing work, maintaining tractors, trucks, doing all that stuff. I never did get I planted one time, because the other hired guy was not around. Planted one time, didn't plant after that because I was always fixing equipment, getting trucks up and running, working on a whole bunch of stuff. Harvest time, my favorite by far, because it's a lot of hours, but it's a good time. People come out and hang out with you while you're driving the tractor and working around, driving truck. That's pretty much farm life. Like I miss it. I love it. Some people like say that isn't that like boring? No, it's not really boring. It's like it's almost a new thing every day because there's always going to be something wrong, or if something goes right, then hey, it's a good day. But there's always something new that goes on when you're farming. As weird or I guess cliche as it sounds, it's so simple, it's so enjoyable.
So it sounds like it was a quite a larger operation. Am I kind of misreading that, or?
It was, I guess, for the area in Nebraska, I'd say it was a pretty moderate operation. It wasn't no huge operation. I know a lot of farmers that have way more hired hands than what we did, or I guess farm way more acres than what we did. At the time our boss had, oh crap, probably around like 2,500 acres.
Wow.
So it was not a small mom and pop farm for sure, but it wasn't huge by any means. It's definitely grown though in the past 5 years. I know that. I've been trying to keep in touch with some of the guys that worked out there. The guy that works out there, I haven't really messaged my old boss, so I don't have his number no more. But I guess the other hired hand, I got him on Snapchat and asked him like how things are going and stuff like that. And he's like, oh yeah, he just got done buying a whole section. I'm like, oh geez.
So were there any creators out there that kind of inspired you to get into the creator sphere?
I watched a lot of guys. Like, everyone's gonna say like, oh, I used to watch the Squad and stuff like that. Like, I've seen a couple of Squad's videos. Like, I'm not a total Squad fan. Like, I'm not, oh my God, the Squad posted a video, I'm gonna go watch it, because that's not me. Like, I'll gain like interest from it, basically for getting new ideas for other videos. But other than that, not really. I just kind of pass over videos just to see like what everyone does. Like when I was watching farm sim content, like 3 years ago, for me, I liked watching Buck, or the rental man Buck, or what, I don't know, his thing's named like Bucked Up right now or something like that. But watch his stuff because he always had like a interesting storyline to it. I liked his content because his was pretty unique. He did unique stuff. Same thing with like Austin Farmer. I like Austin Farmer's videos. They were kind of like the ones I realistically watched all the time. Just to kind of like get a story or like listen to the storyline. They always had something that was like pieced together pretty good.
Okay. And do you consume content outside Farming Simulator?
Do I make content outside Farm Sim?
Well, do you consume it? Do you watch other creators? And if so, who are some of your favorite creators outside of the community?
Man, now you're really digging into this. No, not really. I get on YouTube a little bit to watch creators. I mostly get on YouTube right now to look for other Farm Sims creators to provide them with an opportunity to be able to like work with me and doing like video series and stuff like that. Sometimes I'll get on YouTube and like if I want to watch like Whistle and Diesel destroy another vehicle, I'll definitely do that. Or like what's her name? Farmer Grace. She's back. She's a farmer. I think a fourth generation farmer or something like that from back in Nebraska. I like watching her videos. She's built her farm completely from like old school, like late 90s equipment. And now she's just getting to like buying brand new like 2024 John Deere like 8Rs and stuff like that. Like watching that farm grow, that was fun. I like watching the real life content stuff. For farming or just anything in general, because it's interesting. I also like watch I think they're called the Outdoor Boys or something like that, where this guy like literally just throws himself out in like these terrible, crappy situations where he's like, "Well, guys, I'm here on the Horn of Antarctica trying to survive for like 20 days or something like that." And I'm like, "What the heck is this guy doing?"
Wow. It's actually funny that you mentioned Whistling Diesel. I literally, for the first time today, just heard of them. So it's very coincidental that you mentioned them here now. Just kind of blew my mind for a second there. So if you could meet any three people, who would they be and why?
And that's just any three people.
Yeah, any three people, whether it's in the past, currently living, whatever the case may be. And to kind of buy you some time to think about it, the reason I ask this question is that it offers a kind of window into the individual that I'm talking to. And what it does is that it allows us to kind of understand who the individual finds of value and importance. So it's one of those, excuse me, that just kind of gives us a little window into who you deem of value.
Okay. Well, I guess for starters, just because I think it'd be kind of cool just to meet him. I would love to meet Donald Trump. I think it'd be kind of cool, just to talk with him a little bit, and then like I don't know, the man's a businessman. He's definitely built generational wealth for his whole family. I think it'd be kind of cool to get some insider details on what he's all done to make it that far. Obviously, my dad gave me a small loan of $1 million might help, but.
Possibly.
That would be definitely something that would be a person I'd like to meet, sit down and talk with. Let's see here. Another person. This is a tough question.
This one definitely, I won't say stumbles up a lot of people, but it definitely gives people pause to kind of think things over.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to meet Henry Ford. If he was still alive, I think it'd be kind of cool to meet Henry Ford.
That'd be a good one to meet. Absolutely.
And then I guess another one would be. I guess we'll throw out another president or old president, Teddy Roosevelt.
Gotcha. Yeah, good picks. And then last question I had for this segment is, what was your first paying job?
Now this might be something that you probably never heard of, but I mean, I can explain it and you'll probably be like, why the heck were they making kids go out and do this stuff? But it's called detasseling. It was my first ever like paying job. I started that when I was like, I think I was 12 or 11. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but basically what detasseling is, and there might be people that are listening and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I did that back in high school. But you get up early as the bird chirps in the morning before the sun comes up. It's like I would wake up at like 4 a.m. and get on a bus by about 5. And you would drive to like fields and God knows where, because you wouldn't know where it is or you'd fall asleep on the way there. And then you wake up to the bus stopping and it's like, all right, well, let's go to work. And you'd basically just walk down an entire field or walk down an entire row in a cornfield and pick the tassels off the top of the corn and then walk back and do that from like, oh man, from about 6 to about 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wow.
Every day for about 2-3 weeks.
Whew. Yeah.
It was about 3 weeks long, I think, actually. I think we did it for about 21 to 25 days every year.
That would definitely yeah. I don't know if I'd
My
have the
least favorite
patience to
part
do
about
that.
it was my least favorite part was definitely getting cold every morning. Like there's every morning I would say to myself, "Oh, please, I hope the field's not wet." But every night they irrigate their fields, or the pivot's still running when we get to the field, and it shuts off when we get there. Or the dew from the morning's still on there, and it's like 6 in the morning. It's cold water. It's definitely not the greatest feeling in the world. Then you get all sweaty because you're walking around all day, and then the sun comes out, and then it gets even worse.
Oh man, that sounds brutal. Whew. Yeah, no,
But that's
that's
what my first paying job was. I had fun doing it for the time being until I turned 16, and then I actually got a real job. But did it for several years. Met a lot of great people. Made some good friends doing it. We all just at the age of 12, when you're starting out, like you get paid pretty decent money for it, like for what it is at the time. I mean, for working basically for 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is and making like $1,200, I mean, it's pretty good.
no, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, especially at that age, I mean, $1,200, you're high on the hog at that point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like I said, that's the last question I have for this segment. So let's go ahead and turn to the chat and see if we have any questions in there. So first things first, let's go ahead and check out the funding page. We got Lonnie Johansson with the Tier 2 membership. Lonnie, thank you so very much. Greatly appreciate it. Rail Fanning Jonah with the $4.99 super chat says, if you can only have one mod, what would it be?
Oh man. Let's see. It would definitely have to be something that brings the game kind of full center. Obviously, like I'm probably going to go with an American tractor, most likely, because I mean you can kind of get by with everything else, but I love my American equipment and farm sim. I'll probably go with like, and then this is going to start a lot of controversy between Case and John Deere fans, but I'm going to probably go with a like a 310 Case Magnum from like 2012. If I can get my hands on one of those, I would definitely run around in the game with that.
I gotcha. Jonah, thank you very much for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. And also the gifted membership. Thank you again very much. That went to Travis Gaming. Let's see. Philippa Thompson asked, what is your favorite map and mods?
Favorite map right now, and I wish it was a 4X, would have to be Ray County. Like those guys with No Creek Farms been putting in a lot of work with that. Getting LJR to do custom buildings for it. They went through and they kind of like, I know No Creek has done a lot of good maps and made them up to a very high standard. I would say he sets a pretty big bar for making everything realistic as possible. And I greatly appreciate his maps. Like they make it fun to make content on. I also like the fact that he does like unique areas that doesn't have completely square fields. Cause I mean, I grew up farming with basically square or circle fields, and kind of getting those unique field shapes, sizes, different acres and stuff like that's kind of brings it full circle for me. Also the fact that I'm not having to sit there for hours on end working on an in-game 140 acre field. Like I like the little like 15, 20 acre fields in game because they're kind of fun. You're able to finish them up quick and move on to the next thing. So definitely I'd say Ray County by No Creek. It's a great one. And then I guess other favorite mods. I mean, was OS Farms and Mapping, or OS Modding and Mapping, if I get his name completely correct. Has a lot of good implements, like the sunflowers, like chisel plows, and a whole bunch of other stuff he's got going on with his mod site. Definitely, I like his implements. And then for tractors, if I were to go for like categorizing people's mods, I guess tractors is kind of all over the place. Like you get one person that does one tractor in like 6 months, and eventually it comes out and becomes public. And then you got like a guy that's working on a combine or something like that. Like I would say SID modding is definitely, when it comes to putting in the skill and the time, and his whole team and everyone that does that stuff does do good combines. Same thing with what's his name? Caceres modding. from his grain cart that I think he got it on Mod Hub. He released that one to console. Also, his tractors are pretty good as well. Also doing like the actual flex drapers, the actual correct flex drapers, because for some reason some people can't understand the fact that flex drapers have flex to them and they concave to the land. So I just like those guys that do that realistic stuff to it, and that's kind of like, I'd realistically say, what drove me into like wanting to do better with modding. But yeah, check out. I mean, those guys, they do great work, and I mean, every time I see a mod from them that's in the works, whether it be from like FS Club posting something or like DJ Goham throwing out a video whenever I get a chance to see one of his videos, and then I get to see that, oh, so and so is working on this, and this, and I just tell myself that I can't wait until this one comes out, because I'm definitely going to be using it a lot.
So when you record and when you're creating content, do you tend to try and do a more realistic style of gameplay, or do you take some liberties here and there?
I give myself a little leeway. Like, I'm not like I don't like doing Let's Play content, because, I mean, in my eyes, it's like, it doesn't, and personally, it doesn't really get the views like as it used to. Let's Play content is kind of not really, it hasn't really been the thing for Farm Sim. The role play aspect of it is definitely a big ticket winner. Like, if you're going for views and stuff like that, then I would say doing role play is going to be where it's at. But I mean, I enjoy doing the realistic stuff. I mostly just enjoy it because we can come up with different storylines for whatever it is that we're trying to do. Talking with all these guys, they come up with their storyline, and we just run with it pretty much. And it makes for good recordings. It's fun. It's enjoyable pretty much.
Gotcha. And let's see, Ken Adlam. Ken, thank you so much for your question. I greatly appreciate it. Says, what's your favorite farming simulator? And actually, before you answer that, you said you started playing in FS19, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, yes. So what was your favorite farming simulator?
It'd be Farm Sim 19.
19. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there
it's where it all started. It was basically my favorite because that was where all my friends back home, we had our farm that we'd get on well, not every day. That'd be insane if we were able to get on every day and farm on there. But we'd get on there like whenever we could, go through and farm. We did like little challenges with ourselves. Like, before I knew what Farm Sim content was, we were doing legitimately probably things that would make probably interesting videos, minus all the topics we talked about in the background between everything. But we had Farm Sim challenges where we would go through and we'd give ourselves this much amount of money and we'd have to buy land and do whatever, basically. And like, there's videos on YouTube about people doing the same thing that we did before we knew that this stuff was even existing on YouTube.
I gotcha. And seeing that Farming Sim 19 was your favorite, what would you say was your favorite map for FS19?
I think it was called Lone Oak, if I remember right.
Beautiful map.
Oh man, I think that's what it was called. I mean, somebody can definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was called Lone Oak. I've not seen a Farm Sim 19 map for forever.
No, it was definitely Lone Oak. Yeah, and it was absolutely a gorgeous map. That's definitely one of my tops up there as well. Ken also asks, do you have a favorite farm vehicle?
Something I highly depend on is mostly like the actual like pickup trucks in the game. Like, if I can't, like, I have to have a Ford pickup truck is definitely by far the one I gotta have, and I do probably the most unrealistic / realistic stuff with my farm pickups in Farm Sim. Like, I'll stack seed pallets so high, like if you turn wrong, you fall over or something like that, just to throw some fun into it at some points. But definitely, I gotta have my farm trucks just to drive around.
Gotcha. And it looks like that is everything. So we can go ahead and move on to our next segment. It's called Meat and Potatoes, emphasis on potatoes. This is where we're going to get to know you more for your content creation side, whether it's the mod creation side or your YouTube side. So let's go ahead and start with what likely is the obvious, but we'll go ahead and ask anyways. Tell us a story about your channel name.
So I would. It's gonna be. This is gonna be really cliche. So I'm originally from the Midwest because Nebraska is in the Midwest, and I was sitting there with my friend, and I was like, "Dude, I think I figured it out. This is definitely the greatest channel name of all time." And I showed it to him, and he made some jokes about it and this, that, and whatever it may be. And it stuck from that. I was like MidwestAg, like Midwest agriculture for being short, or ag for being short for agriculture. I settled on that. It was just kind of because I didn't want to have like the typical farm sim content creator name where it was like something farms. Like I didn't want to be Midwest Farms or use my real name Farms or last name Farms or basically fall on that spectrum of the aspect to it. So I just threw out MidwestAg. It's catchy, kind of, sort of. I mean, it rolls off the tongue nice. It's not like a overused, overpopulated farm sim content creator name. So I just kind of went with it.
Gotcha. And do you only produce farm sim content, or do you work on other content as well?
I try to get into doing more live streams, going out and doing stuff. Like I would live stream with ATS. I also live streamed Ranch Simulator, just to like stay in like the agriculture aspect to it, or I guess the agriculture / the industry part of it with anything to do with ag. That's why like with ATS. I try to keep it within the ratio for like the whole niche. So that way I don't throw out a video of like me playing Minecraft and then I question myself why I don't have any views.
And when did you start your channel?
So I started shortly after I got my first PC / laptop. I had it for about a week or so, and then I just decided to start creating content or release my first video or whatever. But it was November of 2023, so I've been doing this for just about a year and a half.
Okay. And what's one thing that you never expected when you started the channel, but ended up happening to you? And some examples I give are the sense of community, any unexpected backlash, things like that.
Well, I didn't expect the community to be so like, I guess, open arms or like having people reach out to you at some certain point in your time where you're doing this. Cause like realistically, like I do this or I try to do it as a hobby. Sometimes it feels like work more than it does feel like doing it for a hobby anymore. But I have fun with it. I do it as a hobby. And then I get people that reach out to me, that are like, hey, I have this amazing opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Or like, there's a sponsorship that you could do, or like, hey, you shout out so-and-so in your video for like this, that, and whatever, and we'll give you, a promotion deal on something or whatever it may be. I didn't expect to like get to that point. Like I started and I was like, well, we'll see how this goes. I'll give it about like a month or so and I'll probably drop it like a hot potato, and I just continued to stay consistent. I did take a 3-month break there for a little while, kind of left the whole community hanging. Like I had people I've talked with in here for a long time. I just didn't even tell them where I went. And I came back and I was like, hey guys, what's up? But definitely I would say just the communities, there's a good side of the community and then there's a bad side of the community. I don't typically associate with anybody that, is on that bad side of the community. Like there's I wouldn't say like the pick me guys on the community side, but there's definitely like the people within the community that just kind of throw more of a fit than they realistically need to. They like make this their whole life or make the modding side of it their whole life. The content creators, they're just doing stuff to do stuff pretty much. Like content creators are great people. Like they're all friendly. They're good to talk to. They're, it's a good conversation. It's just the modding side of it. You get into people that just take it way too seriously. So, I mean, there's guys that are helpful and then there's guys that are not helpful. There's people that like I've reached out to and asked for help with, or like got permission for this, that, and whatever it may be to use some things. And there's some people that just tell you to kick rocks, or there's some people that actually sit down and actually like help you through whatever it is. Cause it's a learning process for sure. Like I've helped a lot of people out with doing some of the modding stuff and I don't even know what half the stuff I'm talking about, or what I don't even know all the stuff I'm doing quite yet, but I help them out to the best of my abilities. And then after I can't help them no more, I'm like, Like, hey man, I haven't done this before. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to try to figure it out on yourself. Like, it's just how it is. I don't mean to be that way. Like, I'm as helpful as I possibly can be. I'm definitely more helpful than a lot of other modders or other people that do this, but it's just that bad side of the community. They basically throw way more bigger of a fit about some stuff than they realistically need to. I don't really associate. I don't talk with those guys. I do enjoy like the guys that are really helpful. And they've helped me with a lot of stuff. And then other modders that I still talk with and, help or ask them questions. I don't mean to bug them about a bunch of stuff. But I mean, they help out plenty. And I mean, the fact that I can go in there and they're like, "Oh my God, dude, you're Midwest Ag." And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'm just him, or I'm just me. I'm not like nobody special or anything." And they're like, "Oh my God, dude, I love your videos." I'm like, "Hey man, it's okay. I'm just another person. It's not that big of a deal."
I got you. And that's one thing that I've been really kind of discovering with doing this show here within the modding community specifically is that there's so many people out there who are so willing to help out and to pretty much donate their time. It sounds like you do that as well. I've talked to several modders through this particular show where, they said very similar things where they basically like, I help out anybody I possibly can. I'm not going to mod their stuff for them. I'm not going to create it for them kind of thing, but I'm going to walk them through as best as I can to get them to where they need to be kind of thing. And that's an amazing thing. I mean, plain and simple is that it just creates a much better end experience for all the people that are going to interact with the mods. And, hopefully, at the end of the day, it comes to all platforms to where everybody can enjoy them. But that's just me.
Yeah, it's a struggle trying to get things to all platforms. Like, there's stuff that the console community doesn't really understand, I guess is the best way to put it, and like to really not be completely like a pain in the butt about it. But I mean, to keep it really simple, like for PC, you can literally take whatever it is, chop it up, throw it in Giants Editor, add an XML to it, add all the animations, and then boom, throw it into like itch.io or some other mod site or something like that, and boom, all the PC community can play with that. But for consoles, you have to follow everything almost down to a T in order to get it on ModHub. Now, granted, there are some mods that go on ModHub that are not finished or have errors, which is still kind of surprising to me because I have downloaded a couple on there that have broken my game, which I don't understand how that got passed, but that's beyond me. And then there's people that go through and try everything and do everything that they possibly can to get a mod on ModHub, and then they keep nitpicking about little things. So I mean, it's definitely more of a struggle to get something on Giants ModHub for console than it is for PC.
Oh, absolutely. And, as a console player myself, I will personally thank every single modder out there who will go through the extra rigors to try and get their mods out to all platforms. I am certainly one of those people who greatly, greatly appreciate everybody who does it. And sounds like you are trying to go through that vein as well. So appreciate all the effort that you're putting in as well.
I've been jumping through a lot of hoops with it, trying to like update textures, normal mappings, and stuff like that. Like the whole modding side to it. Like Giants has their high standard for their normal maps. Sometimes like I can either get a good one out of it, or sometimes I just slap a default normal map on it and call it a good day. Because I mean, in the end of it, it'll still pass Giants thing as long as it's got a normal map on it.
I gotcha. And would you consider Farming Simulator to be your favorite game? And if not, what is?
I mean, my favorite game to be able to sit down, relax, and just not really worry about too much. Yeah, I would say Farm Sim is definitely that one on the list. If I want to play with some of my friends and stuff like that, then I'll get on Fortnite every once in a while, get my butt kicked in the game, and start yelling and screaming and doing a bunch of dumb stuff. And I mean, if I want to do that, then I'll hop on Fortnite or get on. Well, I don't have Call of Duty anymore, but I used to do that kind of stuff. Or it just depends on what I'm doing. But yeah, I'll say Farm Sim is definitely probably my favorite.
And walk us through like one of your typical days. You wake up in the morning, and where do you go from there in regards to the channel, the mod making, things like that?
Um, well, I guess a typical weekend, other than this morning, I don't know. I woke up earlier than I really wanted to, but I'll wake up, I'll kind of get my day started, go through, do my typical routine, shower, and do all that stuff, and go get myself some food. Kind of just like sit back, watch a little stuff. Oh, I'll watch some like Instagram reels or something like that. Go through and basically just start my morning off like that. And then depending on whatever time it is, depending if I got something scheduled, like say for instance for like the farm sim talk today, like I got to clear out a bunch of stuff. I didn't have anything going on didn't have anything else going on this morning, so it kind of fit in the schedule perfectly. But normally I'll have like my schedule lined up where I'll record with people at specific times, and yeah, it's pretty much my morning. I'll sit down, grab myself an energy drink or coffee, and I'll get going on that, and then after that, I'll start making content, and after I get done with that, I'll move on to working with mods, doing some smaller stuff, doing some like little updates here or there, and then I'll take a break for a while and go do something else, and I'll come back to it.
Gotcha. And we discussed earlier what was one of your favorite maps. What was one of your least favorite maps?
Let's see. Least favorite map. I don't know. I mean, I've gotten on a couple, like, I wouldn't say it's a least favorite. It just doesn't fit my, I guess, gaming aspect to farm sim. Because there's maps that are definitely terrible, but I mean not like terrible, like they're just terrible, crappy, terrible, but just not what I like to play on maps. And those are like the maps with humongous fields and people that definitely devote way more time and put a lot more hours on the game than I'll ever do. Those are the maps that I would say are my least favorite maps, but not because they're bad maps, just because I don't want to sit there and farm 140 acres in game.
No, absolutely. And it's one of the things that I always say very consistently on this channel is Farming Simulator is one of the best kind of a la carte kind of style games. Is that it's whatever the individual who's playing it wants it to be. If you want a map that has, 150 acre fields and I mean, you have fields that take up basically the entirety of the map, then there's maps out there, there are going to be maps out there that'll satisfy you. If you want like small itty bitty European style farms with small condensed packed farmyard spaces and stuff like that, there's going to be farms like that for you as well. Different mods, different, a whole 9 yards. It's basically whatever it is that you want it to be. Fast farming, it can be most realistic kind of gameplay, the whole 9 yards. And yeah, it's one of those where just because a map doesn't necessarily meet your style doesn't make it necessarily a bad map. And that's why I tend to ask this question, is to, kind of gauge, what kind of gaming style or gameplay style that you may have. So something with very large fields is definitely the ones that you would avoid.
Yeah, I've played on those maps. Like for instance, like I guess the first one that's going to come to mind is Antler 22's St. Edward, Nebraska map. Like I love the map. Like he did a lot of cool aspects to it, made it really unique to himself, to the area, making sure that he had his own custom crops and their custom crop textures, went through, added his own seasons, added in like one I forget what it was called. Crap, I can't even remember what the mod was called. But the mod where you had to go through, put down like your sprayer applications, seed rates and all that stuff. I can't remember what the mod was.
Seasons? No, not seasons.
No.
Oh goodness!
It's going to come out for 25 here soon. I know Giants is working on it. Yeah, there we go. Precision farming. It was on the tip of my tongue. I couldn't think of what it was called. But yeah, he had his own custom field, or I guess field types or soil types for every field. He went through and made it like actual realistic, where like end rows you had to have more seed, but you're not going to get that big of a yield bonus on your end rows and all that stuff. Like the map was well put together. I liked it. It's just the only part that I didn't like about it, that the smallest field on there was like, I think 65 acres.
Wow.
Yeah, all the other fields, like the largest one was like 215 acres, and then all the other fields were all 140 to 160 acres.
Whew. Yeah, that's some big fields. Holy smokes.
Yeah,
So
that's the thing with like building farm sim maps in Nebraska. Like I had the idea like, oh, I want to do this map in Nebraska because like I gotta sit there and stroke Nebraska's ego for a little bit. But and then I get down to it and I play on a map from Nebraska. I'm like, yeah, no, the field, like, it's just not my play type. I would much rather prefer like fields that are inside trees, forests, and stuff like that, where you gotta like drive, get a view, and go out and do stuff.
now, do you feel that's kind of well? Yeah, I'll ask it this way. Do you feel that that's a part of the kind of content creator side of you that is wanting the smaller fields so that way you're able to move on and be able to do more things to create more of the content? Or is it just your kind of natural gaming style? Like, would you, if you weren't doing the content creation by itself and, you were just kind of playing to have fun, would you be more open to some of those bigger farms, bigger fields?
I mean, so even before I did content creation, I worked on smaller fields. Like I like doing the smaller farm aspect to it. Like I don't like big time operation farming on farm sim. It's just not been my thing. Like I like running around with like the older style equipment. And then, granted, because older style equipment, they didn't have to farm as many acres as they got to these days. So, I mean, you definitely have to put a lot more time into it if you're running a 140 acre field or 150 acre field. So, I mean, even then, before I even did content creation, I didn't like the bigger farmlands because it just took way too much of my time to be able to do something. Like I like going through, taking 30 40 minutes to go through, cultivate, and plant a field, rather than where it would take me 3 hours to plant a 140 acre field. And sometimes like I'll go through and be like, I'm getting kind of tired. Haven't even finished this field.
No, I completely get what you're saying, 100%. So if you could pick any map throughout all of Farming Simulator history to come to FS25, which map would that be?
I mean, Lone Oak would be cool. Like a remastered Lone Oak would be kind of cool. But I mean, I think leaving that map to rest in its glory would be probably the most appropriate thing for it. Let's see. There was a map I put a lot of hours on in 22, and I can't really remember what it's called, and I kind of feel like a really terrible person for forgetting it. But I know it was an MRG map. I know that for sure. I played on a lot of MRG maps back in 22. He does good maps. I like his I guess aspect to keeping everything kind of semi-realistic, but also adding in his like cool little twist with everything. I think it was Stitzer. Yeah, Stitzer, Wisconsin. That map was pretty good. Like that one. Now, granted, he doesn't have like deletable farms and all that stuff, so sometimes there's might be something that's not placed where you want it to be. But I mean, after you kind of play on it for a while, you kind of just get the feel for it because he builds the farms to about realistic to the T that he can get them. And I like that map. That map had a lot of interesting things going on with it, like the whole dairy farm aspect to it. Like I love doing stuff with cattle in farm sim, and he's a big dairy farmer, or not big dairy farmer, but he makes a lot of dairy farming maps. He is really good with like Wisconsin maps. He's got a couple maps here or there that he works on that aren't in Wisconsin, but I'd say a majority of his work and a lot of his best work is with Wisconsin maps.
Okay. And of the maps that have been announced up until this point for FS25, which one are you the most excited for coming out?
I mean, I would say that I like to keep up to date with like what I know what's going to come out. Some of it I hear from word of mouth or like with all the discords I'm in. But I mean, realistically, I don't really look for the ones that come out on ModHub. I try to, see if there's any, because there's only, I think, like 4 US maps on ModHub or like 3 US maps on ModHub. So it's like really, really limited. Mm-hmm. And then there's a lot more European maps on there, of course. But I would say my buddy Star, he's been putting in, or Star Spangled Mods, he's been putting in a lot of work on his maps. And I know you had your interview with him about 2 weeks ago or whatever it may be. He's talking about getting his stuff put on console. He's been running through like the whole process where, well, I got to meet up to giant standards for doing this stuff. So he's going to try to get his maps ready to go. I don't know when his official, like, I'm submitting it date is, but I know it's soon. Hopefully, fingers crossed for everyone on console. Cause I mean, he put in a lot of good work on those maps. I did a live stream on his, Forest, Wisconsin map, about, I think it was last week. And, you know, I loved it. Good field sizes, definitely a good map. He put some work into it. So I'd love to see his stuff, you know, make it onto the mod hub. I mean, for the amount of work he's put into it, it's definitely something that he needs the glory for it, I guess, or I guess the award or whatever it may be for getting it put on mod hub.
I gotcha. Yeah, and definitely Star Spangled Mods has got some really good ideas, and I'm really looking forward to seeing, especially the Wompsville. Really want to see that one come out. Let's see. Name a feature from, well, actually, let me reverse this. So leading up to the release of FS25, we were starting to get that kind of slow drip of all the information that was coming to, you know, the game itself. What was one of the features that kind of made you the most excited?
I'm probably going to say the weather, or like making weather more realistic for the game was probably like the only thing that really got me a little bit more excited about it. I guess the graphics for the game, like, yeah, I guess there's people that are going to say, you know, overhauling the graphics doesn't make the game better, blah, blah, blah. Like 22 is like the best farm sim, whatever it may be. But then a lot of people forget or don't want to remember the fact that it's how the beginning of every farm sim has ever been. There's no perfect launch for the game ever in the history of farm sim. It's just always been the same thing where they're trying to work out all these bugs. Now, granted, you know, it could be a them problem, could be just the fact that we're all impatient and don't want to, you know, have all these updates coming for the game. But I would say that adding the realistic weather was definitely something that got me a little bit more interested into it. And I guess the dynamics to the game, like making steering more realistic, so that way if I oversteer, I don't fly completely off the road, was definitely a fun thing to add, because like I'm not a great driver in the game. Nobody's a great driver. I've never met somebody that can drive perfectly in this game ever.
Oh, and I hear you completely right there. I'm certainly within that mold of can't drive in the game.
Yeah.
I've got plenty of content on my channel that shows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, my editor, he sent me a compilation of funny moments from recordings that we had, whether it be some of the dumb stuff we do while we're recording or me crashing like into trees and rolling over. There's plenty of footage of me rolling my vehicle over, and it's kind of funny, but I'm like, dang, I really suck.
Have you ever worried about, you know, adding like a crash counter or something like that, and it would just be nothing but the crash counter just increasing throughout the entirety of the video?
I thought about doing something like that for a live stream, because I mean, if I'm live streaming, it is way more easy for me to not try to crash, but to basically throw it out there and show everybody how terrible I am at driving. I'm not the worst driver, but I'm definitely not the best. And I feel like it'd be something to like make live streams a little bit more interesting, because like I'll say something on like crash counter, there's like 3 or something like that, or I'll watch somebody's live stream and they'll crash. Like my buddy Cole, he was going through and wrecking into a whole bunch of stuff while he's doing one of his live streams, and I was keeping a crash counter down in his comment section. But it's like, if I could do something like that, I would. I'm not that smart with the whole computer side of the whole things yet. If I could do a crash counter, I would. If there's anybody that knows how to do one, please hit me up.
So going back to the features, what was one feature that you were kind of excited about but soured on very quickly?
Um, the not the AI. The AI is way better, but the characters, like the farm characters,
Oh,
that
like
was
the
definitely like Uncle Walter or Grandpa Walter or whatever his name is, and like all the town
yes.
people and all that stuff that send you on random missions and stuff. The dialogue, it's not that good.
Yeah, yeah, I understand where you're coming from there.
Like I get it's probably to like make people feel a little bit more immersed into the game a little bit, but after you like find them and talk with them a little bit, it's like the same conversation over and over and over and over again. And then I don't like the fact how they like eyeball track you. Like I'll be driving down the road and there's Grandpa just watching me drive.
It is incredibly disconcerting whenever you meet their gaze and it's just they're just completely fixated on you. It's really creepy sometimes. Almost
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
It almost reminds me of like one of those horror movies where they're just kind of fixated on you, and I can't remember the one I'm thinking off the top of my head. I almost think it's with oh goodness. Of course, I'm going to space on it now. I'll keep thinking about it and see if I can come up with it later. But Donald Sutherland, maybe?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Anyways, so what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, so it was like, so I hopped on the game for the first time, did my first like videos and all that stuff, recordings and stuff like that, and I quickly came to like the realization that wow, these characters are kind of creepy, because I was going through and we did like an intro where we're standing with Grandpa, and one of my buddies was standing on the other side, and he's like, Grandpa's looking at me. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's turned around, he's like staring at me, and I'm like, I turn around and I look, and I was like, no, he's looking at me, but I mean on everyone's screen it's different, and it kind of took me a little bit to realize that. But then after I started walking around, we did like our intro and all that stuff. We're like going through and like saying some exciting, extravagant stuff about, hey, we're here on Farm Sim 25, blah, blah, blah. And we're here with Grandpa. And I'm just like walking around in the intro, and I'm just like watching it after I got done recording this. I'm like, this is freaking creepy. Like you could add some suspenseful music, or like Grandpa's definitely seen some stuff back in the day, you know? And I could not get over that fact. And now I definitely do not go anywhere near where those characters are at. I like the maps that don't even have the characters on it, to be honest with you. The ones that mappers can just yeet those characters off it's just better.
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. So what's one thing in Farming Simulator that you wish was there but isn't?
I think something that'd be cool. Now this is gonna be really cliche, but if you crash, it actually adds damage to your vehicle. Like if I hit a tree, it just knocks my like maintenance down to like 80% or something.
That would be a really cool feature. See, I could see that being a double-edged sword, but the way that Farm Sim works, though, I could also see them like having a toggle to turn it on or turn it off kind of thing. But I think that'd be really cool. You'd be driving around and all of a sudden, boom, you hit a tree and it's like, you see a dramatic actual shift in the repair bar. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I think another thing that would be kind of cool, and I know there's mods for it out there, or there has been. I don't know if there's any currently for it, but like script mods that basically, like if you have so many hours on a vehicle, it kind of makes your vehicle more prone to having breakdowns, and you have to go out and like repair it. Technically, I think it was like a repair kit or repair kit mod or something like that. I think it was what it was called, and it was a script mod that came with a toolbox. That toolbox was the only thing that you could take out to the field. You'd set it by your equipment, whatever it is that broke down, and then you toggle on the screen, and then you'd have to spend, I don't remember how much money. It was like $500 to $1,500 to repair your tractor. It'd come up with some like random scenario, like, oh, you blew out a seal, or like your filter's clogged or something like that, and you'd have to repair your tractor or whatever it may be before you can get it to work again. That was a really cool mod. That would have been something cool to like bring to base game, just so that way everyone can enjoy it, because I thought that was cool. I like the more realistic stuff to it, Now there are people that ask me if I have all these other realistic mods in there, like weather effects and all this other stuff that basically taxes your computer or whatever, your console, whatever it may be that you play on. I don't like adding those ones in because, I mean, sometimes I like to be able to run my game with pretty good graphics, and if I add a bunch of those like script mods in there, it kind of taxes the whole game a little bit.
I gotcha. Okay. So, what kind of style of farming do you prefer? Do you prefer like arables, forestry, grass care?
Row crop. Row crop nation. I love doing corn and soybeans. As terrible and as very vague as that sounds, I enjoy doing row crop farming on the game. I tried getting to doing other forms of farming. Like I tried doing a vineyard at one point. Quickly stopped doing that because I lost interest in that after the first 10 minutes. I do love doing stuff with cattle, so I'll go through and do hay and silage and all that stuff. But I would say the row crop farming aspect to it, like, is my favorite. Also with rice farming, I'm going to be working on doing a little bit more rice farming here and there because it's becoming, well, it became a base game thing now. So now everyone has rice farming, and they can do rice farming. I think that'd be something fun that I can get into a little bit. Kind of bring a little bit more shift in the content, just to do more stuff. And same thing with like doing cotton. I know that that's becoming a bigger thing, doing like cotton farming, especially with a lot of these like southern maps that are coming out with like the cotton belt and all that stuff. There's a lot of stuff I could do with all that stuff for like content creation, or just because I feel like doing it.
I gotcha. And when you do play and when you create content, do you do a lot of the contracts in game or?
Not really. Not really, no. I did do contracts on my first series that I did for 25, where, you know, the typical starting from scratch idea of it. And I did contracts for people just to be able to have money because some people kind of look at the whole, there's people that do real starts from scratches, and then there's people that do fake start from scratches. Now, I don't mean to expose every content creator out there, but we know what you do. But if you're going to do a real start from scratch, you're going to have to do contracts. My favorite contract in 25 to do is like the taking the excavator out and smashing rocks up out of fields or like out of the corners of fields. That one's fun. Just because I've never seen it before. It's unique. And then also like hauling logs and stuff like that. Just doing, well, mostly because they pay better than anything else. Because I mean, you get paid like, depending on however many logs it is, but like $13,000 compared to if I go lime Charles's field or whoever it may be, and he's only paying me $2,500.
And what would you say is your least favorite job to do, contract wise?
Bailing. I don't like bailing as it is in the game. It gets really, really, really slow because like I mean, now I do have this mod in there that helps me more in the bailing aspect to it because I'll be going through and I can't hear the little audible beep to save my life because, you know, I'm not going to say I'm going deaf, but it's definitely a really low beep noise and I can barely hear it. And then I'll catch myself driving an extra God knows how many feet past the end of the windrow where I'm picking up at. And then I got to back up and then move the bale out of the way and got to do a whole bunch of extra stuff. So when it comes down to it, like bailing is definitely my least favorite thing to do in the game. I enjoy it after I get done with it all because it's fun stacking the bales. I like doing that. But going through with a round baler and going, stopping, waiting for the bale to unload, going, stopping, that whole repetitiveness, it gets a little old. Especially like there's people I know that play this game that run like huge hay fields or grass fields and cut hay on there. I'm like, dude, how do you have the patience for this? And I gotta have, if I'm gonna do something like that, I gotta have a square baler that's constantly crapping bales out the end of it. Because if I gotta pull forward, stop, and dump a round bale out, I'm definitely gonna drive myself crazy.
Or at bare minimum, one of the quick balers, or not quick baler, the fast baler.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that one at minimum is at least tolerable. But no, I'm right there with you. There's nothing more frustrating than you're just driving along and you don't hear that audible. 'Cause I'm right there with you. There's times where I just completely either tune it out or whatever the case may be, and you just drive past it. And of course, I always have the auto unload turned on because who can be bothered with unloading your baler? And I can't tell you the number of times where I would just be driving around and all of a sudden the rear end starts lifting up and it's like, oh no, reverse, reverse, reverse. And you never catch it in time. And then it's like right on top of where you need to be to pick up the rest of the line. It's like, oh, why? Why me?
Yep, that's how I feel about it. I did a series back in 22. It was around the beginning when I first started doing content, but I did I did a start from scratch hay farm, pretty much. Worst idea I ever did in my life. That was when I found out that doing hay bales was definitely not my most favorite thing to do. But I ended up in that whole entire series, I kept a bale count, or I had that bale counter for the one map I was on, and I ended up doing like 1,500 hay bales on one save game, and then I moved to a different map and did more hay on there. And by the time I ended that series, I had about 750 bales on that map. I was like, you gotta be kidding me! Like, wow. I've moved so much hay.
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely when you discover yourself when you get to have to do that much. Oh, wow. So
yeah, I was just getting real, like, it wasn't even like getting tired of it. Like I was just tired of going around in circles and doing the same thing. And eventually I was like, you know what? Like I've done like 10 videos on this series, and surprisingly it's still going. I'm still talking to myself about the same stuff pretty much over and over again. I'm like, you know what? Like, there's a bazillion things more to do in here than just doing hay farming. I'm going to move on to the next thing.
Have you ever had one of those moments where you sit there and you're like, okay, this is going to be the idea of the series, and then once you get there, you're doing it and whatnot, you reach that moment. It's like, what was I thinking? You ever had one of those moments?
Nothing ever plays out to like perfectly to a T. Like, so my newest series, for example, this is gonna be the greatest explanation for this, because I gathered all these people, and somehow I've managed to get seven people to be in a video series with myself, and they're obviously recording their POVs of the whole video. They're doing their own thing. They're role playing their side of it and all that stuff. But so I started out and like I had this idea. I'm like, all right, guys, we're gonna create the biggest series in farm sim history. We're gonna have 7 people farming on one map. And granted, the idea of it sounded great, and it's been great so far. But there's the problem where the game literally just craps itself probably every 30 minutes. So we'll get through about 30 minutes recording, the game crash, or the whole game crashes completely.
Oh no.
And we'll go through and like, I got this idea, like, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. We'll go talk about this for a little bit, and then you guys can go do whatever it is that you guys need to do for your videos, to carry it on doing this stuff. Well, we get into doing the whole group item, or the group part. We'll get through about 10 minutes of footage, or I'll just say footage because that's gonna be the best way to say it, but 10 minutes of footage. We'll mess around for 10-15 minutes. We'll go back, try to do another cut or another bit, or do another scene, whatever it may be that you want to call it. Then the game crashes, and then we got to spend the next 10-15 minutes trying to all load back into the game, and then we all somehow, I don't know how it manages to work, but we all try to load it at the same time. Hurts the game, crashes the game again, and then we got to go through, I got to restart the G Portal server, I got to do a whole bunch of stuff. And then eventually it finally works out after, I don't even know how long. The worst one was when we all crashed and we weren't able to get in the game for probably about 30 minutes. It was probably the worst one. It's the whole aspect where like you think something's going to work, but then it doesn't work out in your favor. And then you just kind of got to like jump through all these hoops trying to figure some stuff out. I've had to end recording sessions and then come back to them later because either it was getting too late for everybody back in the States, because we'd been messing around with trying to get the game back up and going. I'm like, all right, guys, we're gonna hit it back later. Like, I apologize. Like, it was going good, other than all this crashing that we've been doing.
Oh, that sounds rough. And it's already hard enough to get, several people to coordinate, get everything up and running, and then all of a sudden the equipment that's supposed to be running doesn't. There's nothing more frustrating than that.
Yeah,
So,
I've had like I don't mean to interrupt, but I've had like where we've crashed before. We were doing stuff like, if I remember, I think I was planting a field. We had like I had another person help me out. We were planting a field, and all of a sudden I froze. I'm like, well, here we go, guys. I'm gonna crash, and then I unfroze for a split second. I was like halfway across the field, and I'm like, holy crap, I've still been planting, and then I crash. I'm like, okay, well, that was expected. And then they crash, and then everyone else crashes. Then we're able to load back in like right away, which is pretty nice. I'm like, oh, this is I guess a luxury in disguise. And then I load in, everyone else's tractor's in the same spot where they crashed at. And then I try to find mine, and it's not there. I'm like, where the heck is this thing at? And I'm bouncing through all the vehicles like, okay, no, that's so-and-so's pickup. That's his tractor. That's his pickup. There's his tractor. And then I finally get to my tractor, and it's like on the other side of the map, stuck inside of a building. I'm like, how the heck does this happen? Like, where did this come from?
oh my goodness. That's nuts. Oh, that right there would just drive me up an absolute wall. Just up a wall. I couldn't handle it. Couldn't do it.
Yep.
So as a content creator and as a modder, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's looking to get into this space? So let's kind of break this down into two segments. Let's first focus on the content creation side of it. What kind of advice would you give to a person who's looking to get into content creation?
So I've given this advice to a lot of the guys I record with, and I give it to a lot of people that want to try to record with me, or a lot of people that just reach out and hit me with random DMs saying like, hey, I'm trying to start a YouTube channel. You got any advice for me? Like I hit everybody with the same thing that I tell everybody, and the same things that I was told by other people before me, that if you want to do this, like, I'm not saying you have to sacrifice your whole life and, become a loser behind a computer and do all this stuff. But I'm telling you that there is times where you will have to make an exception instead of going out and, wasting time doing something that realistically does not provide any benefit to you in any way, shape, or form, where you can be going through and getting a quick 1 hour recording session in. It's kind of that aspect to it, because you're going to have to make the time for it. You're going to have to devote a little bit of time out of it. Like it's rewarding in the end of it. Like nobody, like people starting out, they're like, oh, I have this big vision. I'm going to become famous on YouTube, whatever it is. But people don't look into the fact that you got to do this, and you got to actually devote your enthusiasm. You got to be happy with what you're doing, with your, what it is that you're trying to do. And you need to have the patience for it. And I've worked with some people, and that's one of the things is like, there's been people in the past I've worked with before, or that, have worked with me and been in video series. And since then, I've probably worked with a handful, or a large handful of people. Now there's only a small handful of people I still work with. And they've come to the realization that, if they want to grow, do better, get their name out there more, so that way they become, a go-to for people to watch on YouTube, where like, hey, I'm going to watch this person's video because I really enjoy what they do, because it's funny, this, that, and whatever it may be. You need to put in the time. Like, as terrible as it sounds, you're eventually going to become a habit where you're going to come home, do whatever you need to do from whatever it is that you're doing for your work. And you're going to come on, you're going to record a video, and then bada bing, bada boom. Either you'll pay for an editor or you'll edit it yourself. Highly suggest finding an editor to do it for you, because I hate editing videos. I don't hate it, but it's really time consuming. But you just need to have that patience with yourself. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day. So that's what a lot of people kind of don't understand. And it was when I was starting out, I didn't really understand it exactly either. Like, I told myself, I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, and, I'm going to get famous on YouTube, and have like this glow up story of the lifetime, or the comeback story of a lifetime. But eventually you're going to have to tell yourself, like, either, I guess nut up or shut up, pretty much is going to be the best way to put it realistically.
And same question, but focused on the modding side.
Pretty much the same thing, except it's more patience with yourself. Like, you're going to start a project, and I ran into this when I built my first model. I modeled a or a Case IH 4600 cultivator. It's a 25-foot cultivator, and I was building it completely from scratch in Blender, not knowing what I was doing. I was looking at reference videos, watching every video I could possibly find on YouTube to try to give myself ideas like, oh, what's this Blender trick to do this? Or how do I concave this model to make it look like it has this curve to it? Or how do I do all this random stuff on Blender? Because people that know how to do Blender completely, like, they're a whole different ratio of people. But like, have patience with yourself, be willing to learn what it is that you're trying to do, and take pride in it. Pretty much. I mean, it's going to be kind of the same thing with like starting a YouTube channel. You got to have patience with yourself. You have to have pride in what you're doing, and don't rush something, because, like, yes, it might take you a month or so to do something or whatever it may be, or, you know, it's going to take you an hour to make a YouTube video, or it's going to take you 2 months to finally get something up to your standard for a mod or doing a model. Like, at the end of it all, you're going to look back and you'll be like, hey, I did this, you know. Just, you're going to have that self-gratitude. You're going to just feel good about yourself. It's just a patience game. Something that I developed, and it's helped me, is just kind of sit back and, hey, just don't worry about the things you can't control. If a video's not doing good, hey, just do better on the next one. Or, hey, this mod, something's not working on it, take a break, kind of think about it for a little bit, come back to it later, and, you know, you'll figure it out. Like, I've sat there and I've not stressed, but freaked out about something because I did one minor fix to it, and then it broke my game, or the mod wouldn't load in anymore. I'm like, oh God, what'd I do? And then basically what it was is I gave myself like a hour break or whatever, threw out a couple questions, sent in my like line of XML to somebody that I know that's way better at it than myself. He's like, hey man, you forgot to add this closed caret at the end of this line. I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
So I know nothing about XML personally, but I do know quite a bit in regards to like SQL and Redshift and you know, command line for reporting and stuff. And there's nothing more frustrating than when you're working on code, big or small, doesn't matter, and you go to hit the executor, you go to try and figure, you know, get it to run properly, and all of a sudden it doesn't come up. And always and inevitably, the error that gets spit out is incredibly vague, doesn't tell you what's going on. And then you finally go through and you're diagnosing, you're sitting there trying to figure it out, and it's just like, oh, hey, I forgot a comma, or I forgot, you know, this little bracket, or just one itty bitty little thing that you're so close to the project that you overlook it. And there's nothing more frustrating than that.
I would say one of the bigger helpful tools. So I every modder might do this, or it might just be me. It just might be like how I do it, because this is the easiest way that I found it. Who knows? Because I don't ask everybody line to line, like, hey, what do you do to get your mod in to do this? I get it to where it goes in game. And then obviously, like for myself on PC, I can keep it in an unzipped folder, and I can go through and I can load it into game. And then I start doing all my animations, all this other stuff that adds more realism to the mod that I'm working on. And then I do my vehicle reload command, so that way it reloads it with my fresh line of script or code that I did for my XML. And then I check it out, see if it works. If it's not doing what I want it to do exactly, I switch it up a little bit, add in different transform or whatever it may be that I want to make it do, or if I want it to rotate, or if I want it to be an emitter or something like that. I can reload it in game, and then obviously it gets to a point where I've done so much on the code that it throws up a Lua error that it can't update the game anymore. So then I got to close out of the game, reload, and then I just keep going on that process from there. And that kind of helps me because I can go through, do something in my XML, save it, hit vehicle reload, and if a Lua error pops up that, you know, I messed something up, I could just go back and hit Control Z and undo what I just did, reload my game up, and then it's back to whatever version it was at just before. And then I kind of look at it again, I type it out, I'm like, what did I mess up? And I like, oh, I misspelled the word rotation or whatever it may be, or I misspelled the word translate or object or whatever it may be that I possibly misspelled. And I just go from there. And I can go through and figure things out pretty easily by doing it that way. And like I've done short XMLs, like for my cultivator, that's like a 600 line XML. And then there's like for my combine, which is like almost 2,000 lines of XML.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it sounds like you take a very similar approach to when I'm sitting there coding and whatnot for my reports. Is that you just take a slow, methodical, type something out, execute, type something out, execute. Just making sure that as you're progressing, it's executing. Because I don't know, it sounds very similar to what I'm dealing with, but if I go through and I just code, and I get all the way to the end of where I think it's going to be fine, and then all of a sudden I go to hit execute and it doesn't work, well, then I have to go through all that line of code, as opposed to, like what you were saying, just that last little bit. I can focus on that last little snippet, and it's like, okay, there's something wrong here. I know there's something wrong here.
It just makes it easier so that we can like pinpoint my problem. Because if I go through and I write the whole XML without even like putting it in game, and then it throws all these errors up, or like it doesn't load in the game, and now I have no idea where to start at, because it's going to throw up, usually it throws up the same Lua error. It's going to be vehicle, or it's going to be in the vehicle load Lua, or the vehicle Lua, and it's going to be saying update, and it's just going to spam the whole thing. And then you got to look in the log, and you're like, okay, well, yep, that's vague as all could be. And then you go back into your XML and you're like, where did I mess up at? And then you got to reference with another XML that works. And then you got to throw it up there, and you got to get whatever it's called, it's a add-on for like Notepad++, where you can do the compare tool. And then you're comparing your XML to another XML, and you're like, okay, well, this is different. This is different. This is different. You keep going down the line. Whereas if you get it in game with the basic stuff, you can always add to it in the future. Like, put in one wheel configuration, and then as you're going through, add in the other 20 that you want to do.
I mean, like I said, it makes sense to me. So, what's been the most memorable moment in your content creation career so far?
I guess just being able to work with all the people I work with really is like the best moment, or the biggest memory, I guess I could say. I wouldn't say it's a memory, because I mean, it still happens to this day, but in the future, it's going to be, like working with all these guys, seeing where like they're going to end up in their content creation career. Like, if they're going to continue it on, depending on how long they want to go for, working with them. Like I don't say that, or I don't say it all the time, but I mean, religiously speaking, like it's like they're good at what they do. Like they help me. They messaged me. They're like, hey, when are we going to record? And I'm like, I don't really feel like recording, but you know what? We'll do it anyway, guys. Well, let's get on, we'll do this, that, and whatever it may be. And we'll do something. I would say just working with all those guys is probably the most memorable part. Like, never in my life would I think, hey, I'm going to somehow coordinate getting 7 people to be in a video series on YouTube, for Farming Simulator. Like, I never would have thought that'd happen. Being able to work with all those people, it's something that I take pride in, I guess.
No, it absolutely sounds like you should. So same question, but on the content, instead of content creation, on the modding side, what's one of the most memorable moments of your modding side?
It was when I was adding this. I still think about this when Cole gives me some hard times about it, but I was doing a wheel configurations for my international tractor, and I swapped my nodes around, and I ended up having really, really, really tiny wheels on the back end of my tractor, like the 2-wheel drive steer tires on the back of my tractor, and I had my big dual tires on the front of my tractor. So it was basically just swapped around, reversed. And I added it all in. I was like, guys, I think I have my wheels figured out, because I was having problems with my wheel nodes, like my rotation was off and all that stuff, and I finally added in everything correctly. But I swapped around my or when I fixed it, I swapped around the nodes for it. So, front left was actually back left, and blah, 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 so on and so forth. And I vehicle reloaded it in game. The wheels completely swapped around, and I had a reverse ordered of wheels on my tractor. I was like, guys, look at this.
That would be a very interesting thing to have seen. I would have paid money for that.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the, I guess, memorable times in modding. And then I guess getting something in game and like showing these guys, look what I did. Look at this. Like, I don't try to brag about it. I'm like, guys, dude, look at this. It looks so good.
So, of all the modders that are out there, which of them do you look up to the most? Like, who do you try to, I don't want to necessarily say emulate, but who's the kind of somebody that's like, oh man, that's a mod that I really appreciate, I really like it, and would love to be able to do something like that.
I like the time that Rooster Mods puts into his stuff that he does. Like he does the older style equipment. He's a John Deere guy, so I mean we'll give him the benefit of the doubt on it. Like he does all these like old school John Deere mods. He custom builds models for himself. He does all this work, and you know he puts a lot of time and effort into all the stuff he does. And I mean, as simple as his mods may be, he's designing them exactly to the real life spec. Like his weeder that he made or that he's been working on, he redid it from 22 to 25, has two versions of it, has an 8-row and a 12-row version of it. And like he goes through, finds blueprints or gets real life images or finds somebody that can grab him pictures of it and stuff like that, and he'll go through and build it completely from scratch and show it off, and he does good work. Another guy is JCL's Farm Equipment. He does more of the international and Case IH side of stuff, which I kind of find myself working with more of that side of it than I do with the John Deere side. I've told myself, and I've told a bunch of other people, eventually I'll do a John Deere mod, but for right now I'm just going to stick with doing Case and international. And then I did the Gleaner. But those guys, I look up to them. I ask them guys questions. Guys like BC Bueller, I ask them questions. Same thing with like Shaban Modding. I ask those guys questions a bunch of times. I'm in Discords with them. I hit them up and be like, hey guys, I can't do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't figure it out. And then they'll send me a line like, I forgot to give this some sort of node that needed to be there. And then that fixes it. I'm like, oh, you guys are awesome. Thanks.
So up until this point, have you only touched on like implements, tractors, things like that when it comes to modding?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not a Lua scripter. I cannot do Lua to save my life. I know how to basically make a Lua work sort of kind of from 22 to 25 if the API is still all the same. But as far as creating a complete Lua from scratch, or if I convert one from 22 to 25 and it doesn't work, I don't know what to do to fix it, to be honest with you. So I just do mostly vehicles. I haven't done cars yet or trucks. I haven't done anything like that. I've done just an implement, a couple or two combine, or well, I did a convert / redo of a Case IH combine that I'm still working on to this day because there's a lot of stuff I got to do on that. And then I did the other combine and I did a tractor. And I just try to stay with like the farm equipment because, I mean, it's fun to do that stuff. Like it's all old equipment too. It's not like new equipment. It's 1970s to 1990s is basically what I've been working on.
Now, can you explain to us what a Lua is?
It is basically a bunch of if-then statements. So okay. It'll take the API scripts from from wherever they may be located in Giant's mainframe of files. I couldn't even tell you where to like find everything that has to do with this scripting API. Most of it's like by luck if you get it on the first try. But basically a Lua statement is going to say like a really easy one would be if weather condition, whatever it may be, rain equals blah, blah, blah. And then your then statement's going to be or what it's going to do if it rains, basically is what's going to happen. So if it rains and your then statement is, I couldn't tell you, mud or something like that, or like a tree falls down or something. Like if it rains, a tree's going to fall down on the map.
Okay. So it's basically if X true, then this, else this.
Yes, pretty much.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it's confusing. Like I can understand the basicness of it, but I don't know how to do it completely from scratch. And I know like with scripting API that goes behind everything, like I couldn't tell you like all the stuff. You can use some of the dev console commands like money add and like player flight toggle or whatever it may be to like make yourself fly around, or like the sleep trigger. Like that stuff, if you use like the dev console command inside of your Lua and it just activates it for you without having to like actually go in and type on your dev console like money add and then you add your money in, you pull it up on your or you hit your keybind or whatever it may be, and you can give yourself so and so much amount of money.
Yeah, because in order to do these interviews, I tend to do a bit of research on, the individuals I'm talking to. And one of the things I came across on your channel was a kind of explanation. Basically, the way I understood it was a mod that I believe you created that kind of explains exactly what you're saying there. The incremental money changes. Add 10K here, minus 10K here. The key binding. There was another section in there for flight. There was another section in there for something else. And where was I going with this? Anyways, it was just very interesting to kind of, when doing that research and kind of seeing you doing this overview of all the various different stuff that it appeared that this particular mod did. And I can't remember the mod's name off the top of my head.
The Farming Essentials one.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yes. Since then, the updates on Farm Sim have kind of destroyed that. The only one that work, the only like 3 that work on there is the money, the HUD hider, and the sleep. The flight one does not work anymore, and the super strength one does not work since all the Farm Sim updates have come out.
Oh, wow. So is that something that's very common? Giants will put out some kind of update and it'll completely tank or destroy some kind of mod or some kind of thing that's been put out. Is that common?
Yes, it's pretty common. So with a good example would be not the other day, but about a week ago or whenever the new update for Farm Sim came out, the 1.6 or whatever. There's a mod out for PC. It's called Store Deliveries. Well, the most recent update for Farm Sim broke the Store Deliveries mod, and that one's the script mod that basically you place down you relocate the store in your game or in your map or whatever it may be by doing a key bind, and you can place down a new area where the store can go to, so that way you don't have to like go to where the store's at, drive object back all the way back to your farm or do whatever it may be. And I was getting on, and I was like trying to buy some equipment to go set up something, and yeah, my game had a laundry list of Lua errors pertaining to store deliveries, and I was like, well, yep, they broke it.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that would be incredibly frustrating. It's like you have something working perfectly, and then you load in one day, and all of a sudden everything's messed up. That would frustrate me to no end. So it is now approaching 11:30. I tend to keep these around 2 hours for sake of time and respect of the individuals that are participating in it. So we will go ahead and start to wrap up this segment and go ahead and look at the chat there and see if anybody has any questions up into this point. So let's go ahead and check that out just really quickly here. Let's see. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything that hasn't already been addressed. So let's go ahead and move into the third and final segment here. So this is called That's a Silage Wrap. This is where we're going to start closing things out and wrapping things up. So first off, do you have any future plans or projects that you're going to be working on?
So I mean, with time right now, I'll be going home in about the next 4-ish months. We'll see how things go. I plan on doing, I'm going to be going back and working on a ranch when I get back home. So, I mean, things are going to be shifting a little bit. Definitely there's going to be a lot of changes going on with the channel, but obviously I'll address those as time moves on. Eventually I'll have to kind of figure out what the heck I'm trying to do here, there, and whatever it is. I plan on trying to do real life content when it comes down to it, because I'll take a little bit more pride. Well, I take pride in what I'm doing, but I'll take a little bit more pride in doing some more real life content. To me, it performs better. It's also like you actually get to meet the person. Because I mean, I've done live streams and had my webcam on and stuff like that, and here, there, and everywhere, trying to do stuff like that. But I want to do more of the real life content side. I feel like it'd be a little bit more fun to go through and do all that stuff. So, I mean, that's stuff I'm going to address, obviously, in the future. It's not nothing I'm really going to be worrying about too much right now. Because, I mean, I'm not going to sweat over something or basically like that. Yeah.
Okay, and can you remind us where we can find you?
So YouTube, Midwest Ag. You find me on TikTok, Midwest Ag underscore YT or Midwest Ag YT. You can also find me on Facebook at Farm Hub Modding. You can also you can find my Discord if you ever want to find my Discord. You can go in there and throw up a message, chat with me a little bit, see how things are going, or ask questions. There's plenty of good people in my Discord that can help out. So you can find that on any video I post. Literally has the Discord link down there. You guys anybody can, it's free to join for everybody.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Midwest, I want to thank you very much for coming out here tonight and doing the interview. I greatly appreciate it, and I had an absolute blast with you here tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So, this is the point where I turn to the audience and let you know that if there's somebody out there that you want me to do an interview with, similar to what we did with Midwest Ag here tonight, go ahead and let me know in any of my socials there. I will do my best to go ahead and reach out to them and bring them onto the channel. I obviously don't know everybody who's out there in the farming simulator community, but I will, do my best, and through your help, I will reach out to them and try and bring them on. But I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. I had an absolute blast, and I hope you all did too. If you did, please show us by liking, sharing, subscribing, following, commenting, doing all the things the algorithms enjoy you doing that shows you engage with this channel and enjoying the content. And that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Take care. Midwest, if you can hold on just 1 second until after the outro, I'll see you on the other side.
All right. Sounds good.